Howdy, you guys. So you are watching this video because we are doing asynchronous days right now, but do not fear. If you need help on your assignment, I have time built in that I can help you with it, that I can walk you through it during these 3 days, okay? So it's not like something that you have to remember what you're having trouble with until next week. At the end of class, I'll tell you when we can meet together if you need help, if you're not understanding. Okay. So for this video, we are going to walk through 2 example problems. Okay. And then you're going to try 2 problems just like them on your own. Okay. And what these example problems are doing is they're taking away the scenarios. So we don't know what these tables, like what the numbers mean, what it's about. Is it about selling pretzels? Is it about fair tickets? We don't know. We just have a table. So we're just focusing on solving. Okay. So this one specifically says write the function that models each table of values. Okay. What does that mean? Write the function. Write the function. We've talked about it before. It means we're looking for an equation. So anytime I say write the function, that doesn't mean write the word function, right? Writing a function means writing an equation. Okay. And it's going to model or look like or represent this table right here. Okay. It says then evaluate. And we talked about the other day, evaluate means solve. So evaluate the function for each independent and dependent value. Wait, what does that mean? Let me break it down. Independent is our x value. So if we're solving for our independent value, we must be solving for x. And if we're solving for our dependent value, we must be solving for y. Or in this case, from the table, I can see they used f of x. Same thing. Okay, so let's look at how we're going to do this. Okay, and I should have probably told you this, but I am going to give you a copy of these notes. So if you'll notice in your modules, I've been adding a lot of notes lately. I got a little behind, so now they're all in there. But the notes that go with this, so everything I'm writing, you'll see in this set of notes right here. Okay, so if it helps, you want to print it, you want to look at it while I'm doing it, or you just want to follow along with me and then have access to these notes after when you're working by yourself, then here you go, right here. They're the exact same name as your assignment. Okay. All right. Oops, let me go back to the right thing. Okay, so here we go. So number 1 is asking for the equation. How do I know that? It says f of x equals, and then it has a blank. So the equation is going to go here. Okay. Well, we know that we are dealing with linear equations lately, and we know that linear equations are in the form mx plus b. Okay. But that's not good enough. We actually need to write this specific equation. So in order to write an equation, there's 2 things we need to know. We need to know the m, the slope, and we need to know the b, the y-intercept. Okay, well, let's start with our slope. So we know when we have a table, we can find the slope by using our formula. Okay, we can use our formula. I can pick any x's and any y's. Sorry, any x's, have to pick the y's that goes with them. Excuse me. So I'm going to label the first one x1 and the second one x2. y1, y sub 1, and y sub 2. Okay, so I'm going to just plug these values into my equation. So y sub 2 was 5 minus y sub 1 was negative 20. And x sub 2 was 2 minus x sub 1 was 1. Okay, so now I can just solve. 5 minus a negative 20 is 25. And 2 minus 1 is 1. Well, 25 over 1 is just 25. Okay, so now we know our slope. So instead of m over here and number 1, I'm going to plug in 25. Okay, so now we need to solve for our b. So one way we can solve for the b, so remember we're not converting from an arithmetic sequence to a linear function, okay? You can use that same philosophy, first term minus common difference, because common difference and slope are the same thing. So you can take what we did when we took an arithmetic sequence and converted it to a linear function. You can use that same concept to solve for b, but it only works when you're given an x value of 1. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you a different way just to be consistent with my lesson today. Okay, so if I'm going to solve for b, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write my equation. Okay, and so I see 3 variables. I see a y, an x, and a b. And I know my goal is to solve for b. I want to find the y-intercept. So I need to be able to plug in something for y and for x. Well, look at this. I have a whole table of x and y values, right? Pick any one that you want. Okay, I'm going to pick these two. So I have an x and a y. Okay, I could have picked any one. I just picked that one honestly because I already had writing over here and I didn't want to erase it. So I was just trying to get away from that so it didn't look too cluttered. Okay, so instead of y, I'm going to plug in 30. 25 times x, well, x is now 3 plus b. Haven't done anything with the 30, so I just brought it down. 25 times 3 is 75 plus b. Okay, now I'm getting somewhere. B is almost by itself. The only thing standing in its way is this positive 75. So to get rid of it, I subtract 75. But if I do something on one side, I have to do it on the other. Okay. So over on the left, I get 30 minus 75, which is negative 45. My 75's here cancel. And I'm left with B. Yay! We did it. Okay, so my y-intercept is a negative 45, but that looks a little strange. Plus a negative 45. I can actually just rewrite that to say minus 45. It's a little bit neater. Okay, so we had plus a negative 45, and I happen to know that that's the same thing as minus 45, so I just rewrote it to where it was neat. Okay, so let's look at number 2. Okay, I'm going to erase all this. So number 2 is telling us to find f of 12. Well, now we actually have an equation. We had to do number 1. We had to find our equation, our linear equation. Now we can make some predictions. Okay, so our equation is f of x equals 25x minus 45. And now we want to find f of 12. Well, we did something like this the other day, right? Anywhere we see an x, we're going to plug in a 12. Okay. So f of 12 equals 25 times 12 is 300, I believe. Use your calculator if you need to. And then 300 minus 45 is going to be 255. Okay. So let's explain what this means. It doesn't tell us, but let's make sure we understand this. We don't know what this table is about, but we know when we put in a 12, we're going to get out 255 every single time. A 12 goes in, a 255 comes out. So where are you going to write this answer? Right here. You already have it would help if you could see where I'm pointing. Right here. You already have f of 12 equals, and it equals 255. Okay, so let's look at one more on this one, and it's f of x equals negative 145. Now that looks a little strange to me. What is that telling me? It already kind of looks like there's an answer. Did I give you an answer? No. Okay, I didn't give you an answer. It's telling you that f of x is negative 145. So it's saying the output is negative 145. Okay, so I'm going to write my equation. And now instead of f of x, that's our output, right? F of x is the same thing as y. They're basically telling us, hey, y is negative 145. F of x is negative 145. So this time we know the value of the output. So we're going to solve for the input. We're going to get this x isolated or by itself. Okay, so the 25 has to go, the minus 45 has to go, and that's going to go first. So to both sides, we're going to add 45. Negative 145 plus 45 is negative 100. The 25x just comes down. And our 45s cancel. Okay. Divide both sides by 25. Negative 100 divided by 25 or over 25 is negative 4. And 25 over 25 cancels out, and we're left with x. Okay. So I can't decide how I want you to answer number 3. So if you just want to come over here and put negative 4 equals x, that would be fine with me. Okay. We're going to look at one more together, and then you're going to do 2 like this on your own. Okay. So on this next one, it's the same thing. Write the function that models each table of values. So we're writing an equation. Write the function, write an equation. Okay. Then evaluate, solve the function for each independent x and dependent y. Okay. But wait a second. Why does this say g of x? I thought it was supposed to be f of x. Do we always have to use an f? No. You could use G, you could use T, you could use Q. Okay? You could use any variable you want to. Okay, step 1. Find the slope. We know this equation has to be in slope-intercept form. And to be able to write an equation, we need to know the slope and we need to know the y-intercept. Okay. So for slope, we know we're going to need to use our formula. Y sub 2 was 6 minus y sub 1 was 18. Be very careful that you don't actually do this for your y's. Make sure your y's are in this bottom row. So make sure you're getting the values from the right spot. X sub 2 is 4 minus x sub 1 is 2. Okay. 6 minus 18 is negative 12. And 4 minus 2 is 2. Both of these can be divided by 2. Negative 6 over 1 is just negative 6. So instead of m, I'm going to plug in a negative 6. Okay. So now let's find our b value. Let's find our y-intercept. So here's our equation. Okay. And we see 3 variables. We see a y, we see an x, and we see a b. I want to solve for b, which means I probably need to figure out something to plug in for x and something to plug in for y. I'm going to use the first values in the table. Doesn't matter. You could use any that you wanted. And instead of y, and actually, sorry, I just wasn't thinking. I should have put g of x. I used y. I should have put g of x. They're the same thing, though. Okay, so instead of g of x, we have 18. The x value is 1. Now let's solve. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. How am I going to get rid of that negative 6? I'm going to add 6 to both sides. 18 plus 6 is 24. Your 6's cancel, and you're left with b. So now instead of b in our equation, we can plug in plus 24. Okay. Probably should have reminded you before now, but remember, anytime I'm going too fast, you can always pause, let yourself think, and then come back to the video. Okay. So number 2, it looks like they want us to solve for the output, the dependent variable. They give us g of negative 9. So let's write our equation. And they want us to solve for g of negative 9. What in the world does that mean? It means anywhere we see an x, we're now going to plug in negative 9. So g of negative 9 equals negative 6 times 9. A negative and a negative with multiplication make a positive, and 6 times 9 is 54. plus 24. Okay, hopefully I did my math right in my head. Okay, so what does this mean? When I add 54 and 24, I get 108, but what does that mean? We don't know what this table is about, but we know that when the input is -9, the output is 108. Okay, last one. I know this is a lot, so you're hanging in with me so far, okay? If you are listening to this still, put a smiley face on your paper, okay, and you will earn some extra credit. Okay, so number 3, it kind of looks a little strange because it kind of looks like they already solved it, right? Well, what that means is they gave us g of x. They said that g of x is -54. So in this case, we happen to know g of x, the value of it is -54. So when you plug that in, you can see you must be solving for the independent value, the x. Okay. Plus 24, the way I get rid of it is subtracting. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. -54 minus 24 is not 108. What am I thinking? -54 minus 28 is -78. There we go. Much better. Bring down that -6x. And our 24s cancel. Okay. Only thing left to do now is divide by -6. -6 and x were being multiplied, so to get rid of it, I do the inverse, the opposite. Okay. A negative and a negative make a positive, and 78 divided by 6 is 13. My -6's cancel, and I'm left with x. You made it. Lots and lots and lots and lots of work, right? Lots of steps, lots of practice. Hopefully you feel like between the examples and the notes I'm going to give you, I'm going to share my work with you, that you'll have a good foundation to get this assignment done. And if not, remember you can check your on your assignment. It says when office hours are, in case you forget. But right now, I'm going to tell you that they are going to be on Thursday. So if you're my 4th, 5th, or 6th period, you can get help tomorrow, right? Thursday, March 18th. And then if you are my 2nd or 3rd period, you can get help today because you're watching this on Thursday. Okay. So the help, my office hours, if you have questions about this, are going to be a little bit different than normal. They're going to be from 1:30 to 2:30 on Thursday, March 18th. Okay. So your assignment for this is in modules. Okay. And it's down at the very bottom and it's called Writing and Solving Linear Functions. If you did not already, make sure you complete the survey in step number 1 from today's instructions. Okay. That's something that I use to help guide me. I use it to help grow as a teacher. So please, please, please take the time to do that. It's also an easy free 100 for you. Okay. All righty. Have a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you next week or in office hours if you're there.